Hi there, and welcome to Live with the Paper Pixie, episode 392. I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Today is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. If you're watching us live, say hello and where you're watching from. And hello to my replay watchers. I want to give a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. You'll recognize them in the live chat with the little magic wand symbol next to their names. They are channel supporters here for just $4.99 per month. You can become a channel member. Our members only stream, which is one of the big perks of being a Pixie patron, is tomorrow night, October 16th, 2025 at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I'm so used to saying Mountain Time for Stampin' Up. 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, right here on YouTube, and it's really easy to join the channel. There's a little join button just beneath this video, depending on whatever device you're watching me on. We'd love to have you support the channel. I want to give a special shout out to Susan for the super chat before we went live. And I want to welcome Audrey, our newest Pixie patron. She joined just before the stream went live. So thank you so much for joining. So again, that is tomorrow night, episode 25 of Pixie Patron. You can join at any time, and if you join now, you can go back and watch all the past episodes, as well as download all the past project sheets that are part of the Pixie Patron membership. So I'm really excited about tonight's project. I'm going to give you a little sneaky peek. It is what did I call it? It's a gift card box, but it has this diagonal sliding closure. Very, very cool. I want to give a shout out to Catherine at Crafty Mini. She's a former Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. She inspired this box. She's a French demonstrator, but I resized it, pixified it to fit a gift card, but I just loved the closure of it. And it is actually way easier than it looks, I promise, okay? I will have a project sheet for you tomorrow. If you're on my email list, that will get emailed out to you. I do always add the link to the project sheet in the video description as well. It's totally free download, but if you like to get it in your inbox, just subscribe to my email list, thepaperpixie.com/subscribe. All right. Oh, is it showing errors again? I'm going to have Brian check that. I'm going to keep going for a moment and see if it's working. It said I've been live for 2 minutes and 37 seconds. So we're going to check a couple of things. Can you check YouTube on the other? I'm just going to keep going for a moment. If we need to restart, we'll restart. All right, so if you've got a question for me tonight, put a Q in front of your question. That will make it into my queue. I'm going to save all of your questions until the end of tonight's live stream. That way I can focus on demonstrating tonight's project. Let's see, folks are having errors. I'm so sorry if you're getting an error. We're going to keep an eye on the stream. If I need to restart it, I will. If we need to reschedule, I can do that as well. So, okay, so Krista Thomas is saying to go out and come back in, so try that. Gotta love technology around here. All right, so let's see. I do have, when you shop with me, you can earn Stampin' Rewards from Stampin' Up! On orders of $20 or more. There's just two things that you need to earn Stampin' Rewards. One is a Stampin' Up! Customer account, and two is you need to opt into the Stampin' Rewards program. So totally free to participate, but make sure you've got an account with Stampin' Up! And you've opted into the rewards program. All right? So that's that. Let's see. We've got an amazing starter kit special this month. I talked about it briefly last week. 2 different options for you. Both option, you get $90 in free product. So you can join Stampin' Up! For $35 to get $125 in product, or you can join for $99 and get $189 in product. It's your choice, but I recommend the $35 one. It's a smaller investment. You still get that $90 in free product, but then any orders you place after that as an active demonstrator, you get that 20% discount, which is one of the main reasons why I joined 15 years ago. So if you have any questions about joining the Stampin' Up! Family, feel free to reach out. I'll likely do a couple of Q&A things probably before the end of the month, but the starter kit special ends on October 31st. We've got a couple weeks left for that. And let's see. One of the biggest questions I get is if you have to demonstrate or teach or sell to customers, you can simply just purchase the starter kit and enjoy the demonstrator perks as a hobbyist or a craft enthusiast. That's what most demonstrators are. They just love the product and love the discount, love getting to see things first. So there's no obligation to demonstrate. That's just what Stampin' Up! Calls those that join the Stampin' Up! Family. So that's the scoop there. All right, looks like you guys are working it out, going out and coming back in. So I'm just gonna keep going and we'll just pretend everything's great. So let's see, was there anything else? I'm trying to think if there was anything else I was going to tell you. I do have a little bit of show and tell for you, but I'm going to do, since I've got the camera flipped here, I just want to show you what this project looks like. So I'm just squeezing a little bit so I can show you that both sides slide off, but it is such a cool box. And let me show you. Let's see. The gift card perfectly fits in the box. It's got a little bit of wiggle room in there. The box depth here is just about 1 1/8 inches. So you can put some treats on top of that, maybe a hand sanitizer or a small bar of soap or something. But that's that, which I love. And I love the way that this fits in the box. Such a cool closure. So shout out to Catherine at Crafty Mini. I loved your inspiration for this. This is the pixified version. I just love the way that this opens and closes. All right, let's see. We still doing good? People are kind of having
hit or miss.
A little bit hit or miss, but some of them are seeing it successfully. Okay, so I think the stream is good. It's just probably a YouTube thing. Gremlins. All right, so I do have a little bit of show and tell because I got my pre-order, which, by the way, if you join Stampin' Up! This month, you actually get to partake in the pre-order with the starter kit. So we've got some November online exclusives that are on pre-order, and I got to get my hands on the new pockets. I got to see them in person when I was in Salt Lake City for the Million Sales Achiever Retreat, but now to have them in my hands. So if you're new to Stampin' Up, then this probably is not news to you because this may be all that you know, but starting with the November online exclusives, all stamps and dies are going to come in the new packaging, and they are these amazing kind of frosted plastic envelopes. The size measures 5 5/8 by 9 inches tall. We are moving over to photopolymer exclusive stamp sets, and they just fit so nicely in these pockets. The other thing I love is that all of the pockets are going to be the same size. So those of us that are very particular about our crafty stash storage will probably make your hearts happy. It definitely makes my heart happy. So you're going to see lots of demonstrators sharing these pockets, sharing storage options. So keep your eye out. Storage is very personal for everybody. So one way that somebody stores these pockets may not, be your cup of tea, and another way might be like, oh my gosh, that is genius. So I still have yet to figure out how I'm going to store them. Most likely I've got drawers that I like to keep things in, so I'm going to store them most likely on their side, and I'm just going to end up adding a little label here. I do plan to keep my stamps and dies separate from each other because I do tend to pull dies from kind of non-coordinating sets, just depending on what project I'm creating with, but that's also totally up to user preference. I wanted to show you that you can fit both stamps and dies in the same pocket. So what I would suggest is maybe flipping so that on one side you can see the dies, and on the other side, you can see the stamp set. And it's got this little flap. I actually love the flap because it kind of keeps things closed. But another thing you could do is tuck your flap on the inside if you wanted to. Like if you wanted that to be out of the way. If you guys have seen Patty Bennett's recent live stream, she shared a couple of tips. She's tucking in the flap. I thought that was a really cute idea. And sometimes that can make it easier to get in and out. So give a couple things a try. There's this little like finger notch cut out, but this literally came from UPS today. So I am just now kind of touching and feeling and seeing them, well, other than in Salt Lake City, but in my own hands. So you can also purchase, I think it's packs of 10 of the pockets if you want to convert your existing storage. You can fit the red rubber in here if you still have it on the sheet. It's going to be a little bit bulky when you do that, and it'll smush the foam a little bit, but lots of folks have stored their red rubber in pockets like this and have had no problem. So totally up to you. I will likely keep the stamps in the other cases until they retire. I don't plan to convert everything because that's a lot of work. But anyways, that's what those pockets look like. And I think now let's jump into the project now that most of you have come back into YouTube. Yay! Okay, I love seeing that you guys are having success with the stream. So if you're just joining, this is what we're gonna make tonight and you haven't missed anything yet. We're making this, what did I call it? I named the template, but now I don't even really know. It's like a sliding gift card box. I might come up with a more unique name, but a sliding gift card box is what we're gonna call it for tonight. And yes, it does fit a gift card. And gift cards that are all basically like the credit card size. So even if you had like a Visa or MasterCard gift card, that would fit in here as well. Obviously, you can switch this up for any occasion. This would be really cute for a birthday gift. Any occasion that you give gift cards for. It also doesn't have to be for a gift card. I sized it that way because it's one of the most popular questions I get here at the Paper Pixie, which I love. It always makes me giggle when you guys ask, will it fit a gift card? Yes, tonight's project will. So that is what we're making tonight. Let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. I'm going to share some of the products that we're using, and then we'll jump into the project. Oh yeah, sidebar. Just wanted to show you. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. This is 14 pockets. Look at how little space that takes up. This is a combination of stamps and dies, but I am loving the new pockets. And again, makes my heart happy. They're all the same size. All right, so we're going to be using the Delicate Pines bundle. I love this one, and I can never remember if it's online exclusives or mini catalog, but I will have all of the products that I use linked in the description. I am also using the Stylish Shapes dies, my favorite dies, and then we're using the, I even took that out of the pocket, but the Delicate Pines dies, and that is all coming from the Elegant Pines, I think it's Elegant Pines Suite. Lisa, thank you for the super chat. The paper is absolutely stunning. So we'll flip through that. If they're using that, I think it's the sea salt technique. Kind of see that mottled coloring there, which is just beautiful. And a lot of these pages, like this page and this page, I believe, the dies will cut out the snowflakes, which we're actually going to do tonight as well, okay? I do have a template, so we're going to start with the box base. And for this one, I'm using thick basic white, but regular basic white will work as well because we're actually doing a reinforced interior box. Now, I am going to be using some 1/16 of an inch measurements. Let me go grab the ruler. Hold on. If you have invested in the Victor ruler, you can see all the way down to the 1/16 of an inch measurement, so that can help you if you struggle with 1/16 of an inch. But the starting piece of the inside box, that is going to be 6 9/16, which is just 1/16 more than 6.5, by 7 13/16, which is just one more 16th than 7 3/4. So go to 6.5 and then go over one more tick mark, and then go to 7 3/4 and go over one more tick mark. So again, 6 9/16 by 7 13/16. Okay, forgot to do my watch. Hold on, that's going to distract me. There we go. All right. And part of why the starting piece has a 1/16, I have figured out the score measurements that are not 1/16 of an inch. So we can use our simply scored. I prefer the simply scored because I feel like I have more accuracy when I score, but you can also use the paper trimmer as well. So on the short sides, and when I say short sides, we're gonna score and then rotate 180 and score again. So you want your short side at the top or your paper in portrait. We're gonna score at 2 1/8 and 5 1/2 on the short sides. Okay, so 2 1/8, 5 1/2. I'm gonna rotate at 180 and repeat those, 2 1/8, 5 1/2. Now that is making sure that the sections that are in here, those are gonna be kind of at the 1/16 of an inch increments. So it's kind of, that's how I love to kind of figure things out for you to make it easy for scoring. It's easier to cut the paper to start with the 1/16 of an inch and then score on the 8ths, quarters, halves, that type of thing. All right. So then on the 7 and 13/16 side or the long sides, we're gonna score at 2 1/8 and 6 3/4. So rotate 180, again 2 1/8 and 6 3/4. Okay, so you're gonna have kind of this grid look, okay? All right, so then I'm gonna fold and burnish on all the score lines. I'm hoping on replay there's no glitches with the video. We shall see. Okay, so we've done all the folding and burnishing. Let me bring in the template. So I've got both pieces on the template here. We're starting with the interior box, so that's gonna be this template. And you've probably seen templates like this from me before if you're not new here. And if you are new here, let us know in the chat because my awesome audience will give you a big warm welcome. So I'm gonna turn it this way. So we've got it in landscape, okay? And I'm gonna cut up each of the vertical score lines. I'm gonna stop at the second horizontal score line. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna cut right down the middle of the score line. And again, I'm cutting up to that second horizontal score line and stopping. I'm just gonna do all of them while we're here on this side of the cardstock. So we've kind of released those sections there. I'm gonna turn it a quarter of a turn. And we're gonna remove these 2 squares in the corner, but I'm also gonna come in and miter cut right there. So that's gonna get removed. And then I'm gonna remove one of the squares on this section here. There's 1 tab left. Like that. Okay, so that's leaving a tab behind. We're gonna repeat the same thing on this opposite side. Again, we're gonna come in and miter cut and remove those 2 squares in the corner. We're basically removing the 3 corner squares and then leave 1 behind here, and that becomes our tab, okay? So I'm gonna fold this middle section out of the way to isolate those 2 tabs, and I'm gonna miter cut those tabs. There we go. And then I'm also gonna come in and miter cut here on these 2 sections. Basically any parts that are gonna fold into the box, you wanna add that little miter cut so our edges don't get in the way. Clean up my mess here. And this is not to size because I wanted to fit it all on the paper, but now that one side is finished. Okay, so now we're gonna focus on the opposite side. We're gonna repeat the same thing, cutting up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at the second horizontal score line, and I'm cutting right up the middle of the score line. All right, so we've done that, and then I'm gonna turn it a quarter of a turn. We're gonna remove these two squares. I'm also coming in and miter cutting here as I remove them. So like so. Okay, you can kind of see that little miter cut there. And then we're gonna remove one of the squares from here, leaving a tab behind. So we're gonna repeat the same thing on the opposite side, removing these two squares, miter cutting as we do, and then removing one of these squares. And then what we've got now are two tabs left behind. Fold this big section out of the way. Move the template for a second so it's a little easier to see. Like that, and then we're gonna come in and miter cut. You grab Lydia's question. You probably haven't seen it yet.
No, she was sending it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The last thing I need to do is these two miter cuts here. There we go. So now, bringing that template back, you'll see we've removed these three corners and all four, or these three squares in all three corners, and left behind some tabs. So it looks like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring this back in a moment. I'm going to grab a piece of designer series paper. Let me grab the one. Here we go. I think it's that one. Easier to glue this down now than later. And see how this is kind of curving in? This is going to be how our box ends up going together, kind of like so. So we're going to glue this piece of designer series paper to the inside square. Now this piece measures 2 3/16. That's 1/16 less than 2 1/4. By 3 7/16. That's 1/16 less than 3 1/2. Okay, so go to 2 1/4 and bring it back a notch. Go to 3 1/2 and bring it back a notch. Okay, so liquid glue. This piece, if you're using a directional pattern, you're going to want it to be in landscape. This pattern that I picked from the designer series paper is not directional, so it doesn't matter. But if you are using directional, you want to cut it to landscape. All right, so that's in place. Now we're going to go ahead and put together this interior box. So I'm going to start with one tab at a time. I'm going to put adhesive on the tab, and we're going to line up this score line with this cut edge. So it's going to go like this to create that first box corner. Don't worry about these flaps yet. We're going to glue those into the box after we've done all 4 of the tabs first. So liquid glue. I love the contrast of the white with the dark designer series paper. It's a really stunning combination. And then comparing the outside of the box, which is that deep cherry cobbler, with the white interior, is just so nice looking. Clean and crisp. All right, so that's one tab, and then I'm just gonna work my way around until we've got all 4 tabs in place. I love liquid glue for this because it gives me a chance to get that lined up right where I want it. If you take your time lining up that corner there, you're gonna have a really nice finished box. And again, I'm just kind of manipulating the cardstock with fingers inside and outside that corner. And the liquid glue helps me do that. There we go. And then that last corner. There we go. All right. So now that all the tabs are in place, I'm going to kind of just tip back those tabs just so I can get in with liquid glue. I'm just gonna go ahead and put liquid glue. I'm gonna kind of do opposites at once. You could put glue on all of them if you wanted to, but I'm gonna just go ahead and do the short ones first. And then those are just going to fold into the box and stick to the side. You do want to hold them for just a little bit while they stick. And I'm gonna come in with the bone folder and burnish, but for now, just wanna get those tacked down. And then we're gonna do the two opposite sides again. These ones are gonna fold over the tabs. I know this probably looks like a lot of adhesive, but it's really not. Really thin bead of adhesive there. So get that tacked down. And the bone folder will really get everything into place, nice and crisp. All right, so I'm just gonna come in with my bone folder now and just burnish using kind of that point to get in all the corners, and then I'm pressing on that folded edge. I'm just gonna give us a really nice finish. I've got some adhesive boogers in there. There we go. And the other thing I like to do is just kind of pinch on the corners just to make sure that that's nice and square with like the 90-degree angles. Sometimes when you burnish, they bow out just a little bit, but that'll just help this box fit together really nicely. So I'm just kind of pinching a little bit on the corners. All right, so that interior box is done. I love the noise when you've got the double reinforced edge. Really, really nice finish on that. So I'm gonna put that off to the side and we're gonna focus on the outside of the box. All right, so for this piece, this is cherry cobbler, and this piece measures 5 7/8 by 7.5. I went easy on you with the measurements for the box, the outside box, and that's by design. So again, 5 7/8 by 7.5. I'm gonna bring in the Simply Scored, and along the short sides, so that's the 5 7/8 inch side, we're gonna score this at 1 1/8 from each of the short sides. So 1 1/8, rotate 180, 1 1/8 again, okay? And then I'm going to turn it to the long side, and it doesn't matter which direction you turn because we did the score lines the same on either side. On the 7.5 inch side, we're gonna score this at 2 1/8. 2 3/8. Glad I caught that. 3.5. 5 7/8. And then 7. Okay, so 2 3/8, 3.5, 5 7/8, and 7. And you're gonna have a grid that looks like this. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and fold and burnish on all the score lines. Okay, so there's that. Let me pull in the template. Now we're looking at this template here. I'm probably, for the project sheet, I'm gonna flip this around because ultimately when we put the designer series paper on, you want that little 1/2 inch to be at the top orientation for when you put the designer series paper on. So pretend that this is, well, we'll wait till we do the designer series paper, but I will flip this around for the project sheet, okay? So I'm going to turn it to its side, and I'm going to cut up each of the vertical score lines and stop at that first horizontal score line. So just cutting right down the middle of the score line. And then I'm going to remove this little corner section and also miter cut. So I'm removing that, and I'm gonna fold the big sections out of the way and miter cut on those tabs. Okay, so that side is all done, like that. We're gonna do the same thing to the opposite side. So cut up each of the vertical score lines, stopping at that first horizontal score line. And then we're gonna remove this little rectangle in the corner and also miter cut. And then move these big sections out of my way, and then I'm gonna come in and miter cut. All right, get my desk cleaned up there. So there we go. Pretty simple construction, okay? Just wait, you're gonna be like, what? All right, so the next step we want to do is adhere our designer series paper. So I'm going to put this in this orientation, so portrait with the little 1/2 inch at the top, because technically the box is going to go together like this with our seam here at the top. So this is the orientation we want. And I've got 6 pieces of designer series paper for you. Now, if all you wanted to put was just one piece, you could just put this middle panel here and be done with it, okay? I opted to add designer series paper all the way around to be a little extra, but I think because of the construction of it, the recipient's gonna study this box. So I thought, why not? Let's use some paper all the way around. So we have got 2 pieces that measure 2¼ inches by 3½, both in landscape. Actually, all of these pieces are in landscape if you're using a directional pattern. So 2¼ by 3½. We've got 2 pieces that are 1 by 3½, also landscape. And then 2 pieces that are 1 by 2¼ also landscape, okay? So let's start with the big pieces first. This one up here that's the closest to the 1/2 inch, that one's gonna be the top of our box. So if you're trying to pay attention, if you've got a directional pattern, I just recommend dry fit the box and make sure you adhere the designer series paper that you like. I opted to use a non-directional paper to make it easy on me, but you would have it be in this panel. This will be the top of the box, and you want it in portrait with the top of the pattern closest to the 1/2 inch. All right, let's get the liquid glue going. I'll start with this panel. And you're just gonna have about a 1/16 of an inch of the cherry cobbler peeking out. Then you're gonna do this panel. This one you're gonna put upside down. So you would have the top of your pattern here on the bottom. You'd have it upside down because when it folds, so you want the top of the pattern there on the back, which means you want the top of the pattern here, okay? But again, I'm not using directional, so it's a little hard to illustrate. All right, there we go. And then we're gonna do our 1 inch by 3½. These are gonna be landscape as well, but if directional, you want the top of your pattern here, okay? You guys have some great questions tonight. I love it. So if you just joined the stream, if you've got a question, put a Q in front of it. That will make it into my queue, and I'll answer all the questions at the end. Thanks for joining. And then we're gonna add the second one here, but then this one's gonna be upside down. So the top of your pattern is gonna be at the bottom, and this will look upside down in this orientation. There we go. And then we've got our 2 pieces here. Those are actually going to go on these panels that are closest again to that 1/2 inch. I always recommend just double checking yourself before you glue it down. These panels are going to go down last. So if you kind of dry fit it, this is going to end up, you're going to be shocked, but it goes together just like a box. Whoops, as I'm folding. Okay, so you want your DSP to be on these panels, which are the closest to that 1/2 inch. Okay, and then your pattern's going to be in landscape, but you want the top of your pattern here, so top to bottom, just the way that the box is going to close. I'm going to turn it this way. And then turn it that way. And I'll tell you what, if I can figure it out on the template, I will edit it to put my little Paper Pixie DSP on there so you can see the direction of the pattern. How's that sound? All right. There we go. Okay. So now what we're going to do is start to put our box together. Okay. So to do that, I'm going to flip it over where I've got my little 1/2 inch on the left, and I'm going to fold on the second score line from the left. Okay. And then I'm going to put liquid glue along the tab, and then we're going to fold from the first score line on the right and just press that totally flat. Okay. So liquid glue then on the tab. And then fold this flat. And we're just using our surface and our score lines to get everything lined up where it should go. Okay. You can kind of have this go both ways if you want, like that. All right, so wait until you see this. Now, I'm gonna keep it in this orientation. So we've got our little seam is here. I'm kind of folding that down. So seam is along here. And we're keeping this flat. We're gonna cut with our paper trimmer on the diagonal, believe it or not. So I'm gonna give you, the angle of this is completely up to you. I'm not gonna give you any real specific measurements. I'll show you what I'm gonna do on my paper trimmer. Because this is basically 2 layers of cardstock and 2 layers of designer series paper, I learned that my blade on the paper trimmer isn't deep enough. So I'll just show you how we'll flip it over and finish the cutting. It's also maybe because my blade needs to be changed. So it's possible you could do one fell swoop. You could also do this on a guillotine cutter if you like, but we are literally just gonna cut the diagonal before we put the box together, and that's gonna give us this super cool diagonal mechanism. Okay, and I'm going to show you something cool afterwards. I was playing around with it when I was creating the sample today, and it was just like a cool geometry look at the box. Anyways, it'll just be a fun thing. All right, so I'm going to bring in the paper trimmer, and I've got my little seam is right there on the back. It really doesn't matter. You could cut it this way, you could cut it that way. I did it where my big front panel is right here up at the top. And I'm looking at where the score line meets the edge here and where the score line meets the edge here, okay? And I am going to take that score line, I'm gonna go 4 vertical lines over on the paper trimmer on the right side and 4 on the left. So I'm just lining up. I'll probably zoom in to show you this as well. Let me zoom in a wee bit. Ooh, is that too much? I think that's good. Let me pull it this way. Hold on, too close. Oop, sorry, I'm giving you, hopefully not making you too dizzy. Okay, can you see up top, right there where that score line meets the top edge? I've got that on the 4th vertical line from the cutting groove, and the one down here I have on the 4th. So it's like 1 inch, 1 inch to the left, 1 inch to the right. Again, not scientific. And then I'm just gonna cut. Believe it or not. I'm gonna press down as hard as I can, but more than likely I'm not gonna cut through all the layers. So I'll kind of go back and forth a few times. I've got I'm holding this pretty strongly so that my paper doesn't shift. but I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's not gonna go all the way through. So I'm going to flip. So we've cut through most of it, but I'm gonna flip and we're gonna do the same thing, only this time this top corner, I'm gonna put at the 4th vertical line and the bottom corner at the 4th vertical line from the left and 4th from the right. Can you see that? So there's my 4th line down here. There's my 4th line up there. You can kind of see my cuts here. I just kind of make sure that's in the cutting groove and then cut the rest of the way. And boom, we've done that. We have a little bit of paper hairs falling off there, but that's okay. All right, so there we go. Let me zoom back out. But that is essentially what we just did. So there's no rhyme or reason. If you wanted to measure, let me grab my ruler. What is that? That is, oh, I don't know, about 1 1/8 inches from the score line. Because we did it kind of cattywampus and lined up this at 1 inch, this is a little bit more than 1 inch. It's close to like 1 1/8. And then the same thing over here. This is close to 1 1/8 from the score line. Okay, so we did that. But watch how cool, when I flip this behind and I just go this way, isn't that so, I was like, that looks 3-dimensional. Isn't that cool? Brian doesn't think it's cool. Anyways, so now here I am all turned around. Let's make sure I've got this going the right way. Now that I goofed, okay, here we go. That's the way that that's gonna go, okay? So that's how we cut it, boom. So you do that before you glue your sides together. Now we're gonna bring in the box, okay? And I'm just gonna kind of place that inside my little diagonal closure. And then I'm just gonna dry fit the edges. So I'm putting the tabs in first, the first flap and the second flap, like that. So I'm just gonna kind of put it on one end and we're gonna focus on gluing one side at a time. Okay, so then, come on, liquid glue, there we go. So glue on the tabs, and then glue on the flap that has the designer series paper. Okay, so that one. So I'm gonna then close the back flap, oops, and then the front flap, and then I'm just kind of turning it, because the box is inside, I'm actually using it as leverage, just pinching on all 4 corners, all 4 sides, and pressing that into place. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So liquid glue on the tabs, and then liquid glue on the back of the flap that has the designer series paper, okay? And then we're gonna close that and that. Just pinch and line up and press into place. And there we have. Now, if I kind of pinch just a little bit, that'll kind of hold on to the interior box. You could sit there and play with this for days. It is, if you've got something in the box, it is a nice fit, but it's not like so snug that the box is gonna stay together. So you shouldn't have any trouble with this fitting with the measurements that I came up with, okay? And more than likely, you're gonna probably gift this. I mean, it stays together just fine. If you were transporting it or you're worried about it falling apart, you could wrap this with twine or ribbon before you decorate the box. I do recommend that if you use twine or ribbon, just kind of sandwich it. So for example, if you wanted to tie this with a little bit of twine, make sure that the twine kind of goes underneath your focal point and you kind of anchor it with dimensionals. Okay, but why don't we go ahead and decorate our box? I love this. Now, like I said, I was kind of pinching on the corners, and that just makes sure that that gives it a nice fit. There's going to be just a tiny little bit of a gap, but as you can see, if I hold this together, it's a really nice finish. So just a teeny little bit of a gap there. Okay, all right. Let's do some. What do we want to do first? Let's do heat embossing first, and then we'll do die cutting, okay? Since we're gonna kind of do all that at once. So I'm gonna grab a scrap piece of shaded spruce. And my Misty. 2 weeks in a row I've been doing heat embossing. All right, so let me get my little embossing buddy. And then Versamark. So I like to stamp this a couple of times so I have a nice and sticky sentiment for the embossing powder. The Misty or any stamp positioning tool will really help you with that. I'll just do it 3 times. I love how the Versamark looks on shaded spruce. Here we go. All right, let's pull that out. Then we're going to do gold embossing powder. Do a couple of, catch any that it missed, just do it twice. There we go. That looks good. Now the magic. Turn it so you can watch it turn. There we go. There goes the magic. As I say, every time, that never gets old. Ever, ever. All right. Let's get this ready to die cut. I'll just do this one on its own. Again, this is from Stylish Shapes. It's a little tiny for the sentiment, but one of the samples on the Stampin' Up! Website used this die, and I thought it was so cute with the sentiment. So I'm gonna just center Winter Wishes along the bottom there. That should be pretty good. It's okay if some of the word warmest gets cut off. Still looks, you can still read what it says. Okay. Let's get it die cut. I'm gonna bring that right back because we got a couple more things, but look at how pretty that looks. Warmest Winter Wishes. I love that gold on shaded spruce. All right, we're gonna die cut. I might be able to do this both at the same time. Let me cut a little scrap of cherry cobbler, and we're gonna use Stylish Shapes, and this die is 2 1/8 in diameter. And then, hold on, I put my paper all the way over here. All right, so this is one of the patterns that you can cut out the snowflakes with dies. And I'm gonna come in, let's just go ahead and cut this guy out. Quick and dirty here, because I just wanna get this one die, or sorry, this one snowflake. This guy here, and let me bring in the snowflake die that lines up with it. You can also create your own snowflakes with the stamp set. So I love the versatility in the suite. Get this cut. All right, now we can assemble everything. In case you're wondering what's off screen, I just have my little magnetic dish so I don't lose. I've been really good about putting my dies in the dish. Haven't lost one yet. Alrighty, so liquid glue snowflake to the circle die. Just kind of center that in the circle. Just kind of like that pop of color there with the white and the cherry cobbler. Let's bring in our box, and I'm going to put this off to the left, and then I'm going to glue the sentiment like that. So I'm just kind of dry fitting that. I'm gonna flip it over and put liquid glue on half of that. Kind of turn it a little bit that way. That looks good there. Just gonna kind of tack it into place and then pull this off and pinch. All right, now, because this circle is going over most of, like, I think I can put dimensionals on the back of the circle. If you cut it a little bit of a more shallow angle, or you've got a smaller space on the left, you can actually place the dimensionals first, but I'm pretty safe putting dimensionals on the back of the circle first, but otherwise I would recommend putting your dimensionals on the box itself, because you don't want to stick this to both sides of your box. Otherwise your mechanism isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna grab like 4 dimensionals. I want to stay away from this corner here, so I'm just going to kind of go like that. And then let's place that in the center there. Just making sure my sentiment is straight. That looks pretty good. And I can just double check that I don't have any, nope. No dimensionals in the way, so I'm just kind of pinching to stick that down. And then we need one piece of gorgeous bling, which are I think this is my favorite embellishment in the mini catalog. These are the faceted snowflakes. How stunning are those? So I'm going to use one of the cherry cobbler ones. I'll use a big one. And then we're going to just pop that right in the center there. Kind of lining it up with the design itself. But is that not just the perfect piece of bling? I'm just going to pinch so that it's in place. But that is our sliding gift card box. I might come up with a different name. I saw Jackie said a double slider gift card box, I think. So I'll come up with a different name maybe. But that is the project. These look identical. I typically copy myself, my own samples. Shout out to Catherine at Crafty Mini for the inspiration for the style of box. This is sized to fit a gift card, which, do I have one in here? No, where is my gift card? Here we go. Let me show you that it fits. Gift card. You could also hide a sentiment on the inside. That would be really cute as well. But there you go for tonight's project. I hope you loved the project. At this point, we're gonna jump into the Q&A. So if you've got a question for me and you haven't already typed it into the chat, just put a Q in front of it. That will make it into my queue. Again, I'm about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of you. That's just the way streams work. So if I miss your question at the end, just email me anytime at support@thepaperpixie.com. It is me in the inbox. So feel free to ask any questions. All right. Again, on the project sheet, there will be a free project sheet available. I've got to finish it. It'll go out to my email subscribers tomorrow, and I'll also add it to the YouTube description tomorrow as well, so you can grab it below the video, okay? All right. I did Q, but where are the Qs? There we go. I think, let's see. Oh, there's a lot of usernames with Q. I think that's what's going on. Okay, we're starting off with Kathy. Oop, I'm not on the right screen. I will have a PDF after the video is finished. It will be finished tomorrow. So I kind of work on it on Thursday mornings. So if you're on my email list, which I know that you are, I will email it out to my email subscribers tomorrow. And I'll also add it to the YouTube video description if you're not an email subscriber, okay? Lydia, I think I remember when you asked this question, it was for the interior box base. It doesn't matter counterclockwise or clockwise. The measurements are the same all the way around for the interior box base, so that's why I didn't say clockwise or counterclockwise, okay? So with the box base, you're scoring on the short sides with one measurement, so both short sides, and you can turn it either way. You just have to go all the way like 180 degrees, and there was a scoring measurement on the long side. So counterclockwise or clockwise doesn't matter. Let's see. Yes, so for joining as a demonstrator, Raquel, it was so fun to talk to you today. So there's two options. When you go to the starter kit screens, you get to choose either the $35 option, which comes with $125 in product of your choice. So it'll only cost you $35 plus tax if applicable. Shipping is free. You get to pick up to $125 in product without going over, but you have to be within $5 of $125. So I've never had anybody have a problem getting as close to that number as they can. But so it's $35 for $125 in product of your choice, or it is $99 for $189 in product of your choice. So both options come with $90 in free product. It's just dependent upon whether you want to do the $35 option or the $99 option. So our starter kit is always $99, typically for $125 in product. But for this month during October, it's $99 for $189 in product or $35 for $125. Both options, $90 in free product, which is, we've never had a starter kit that's this good. Okay. Let's see. After you score your cardstock, which way do you fold the scored cardstock? I love this question, Kathy. It's been asked many times over the years, but and some of this is user preference. However, I'm actually going to do a little demonstration to kind of show you the difference. I'm going to see if this works. So hang tight, Kathy. As I explain, I'm going to do a little bit of, let me come back to this screen. All right, I'm going to grab a scrap piece of cardstock and my Simply Scored. Whoops, getting caught on cords here. Okay, so I'm gonna score, let's see. I'm just gonna do 2 on one side. I'm gonna rotate it, but I'm gonna flip it and do 2. That should be a good example. So you see how I've got the score line on opposite sides of the paper. Hopefully the camera is picking up that this is a valley score line and this is a mountain score line. So when I say valley, valley is the side of the paper that you score on. So on this score line, we scored here, that creates a valley fold, okay? Now, what I do is fold away from the valley. So I'm taking that valley and I'm turning it into a mountain. Okay, and then I burnish, but I want to show you what's going to happen. Where's my bone folder? Here we go. Okay, so I turned that into a mountain. Now, if you'll see this one, we scored on this side, and most people, and naturally, we would think that we would fold in the same direction. So I'm going to do this one in the same direction and burnish. Hopefully this is the example is gonna work for me, okay? So I just want you to see on the back side of this paper, do you see the difference in what that looks like on the other side? It's really, on this you can really see the difference, okay? So on the left side, we folded away from the score line. So we took that valley score line, turned it into a mountain, and you get a really nice finish on the back and the front. Nice finish on the front here too, but you'll notice on the back that it's kind of fighting it a little bit. The best way I can to describe it is when you're pressing into the cardstock, you're actually kind of breaking down the fibers of the cardstock to give you the ability to turn it the opposite way. And you just get a much nicer fold when you do it that way. So you turn your valley score line, so the side that you scored into a mountain fold, you fold away. So I scored on this side, it created a little valley divot, and then I folded away. Hopefully, it's a little hard to describe in words, but hopefully that kind of gives you what it looks like doing it one way versus the other. So the left side is technically the correct way to do it, but you could do it either way, but that's the way I do it, okay? All right, coming back to the cues. Get my keyboard back here. All right. Ooh, this is a tough one to answer because it all depends. I just look for inspiration in a whole bunch of different places. Pinterest, I love seeing other cool creations from other crafty people and kind of coming up with my own version. Like I like to study closures of boxes and designs of boxes, and I try to like, I don't know, mix and match and just make it my own. So a lot of times it'll be on Pinterest from, you know, other Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, other crafty folks. But also boxes of things that I buy at the store, for example. So I just kind of, I don't know, my mind goes into analytical mode when I see a box that I love. And part of my biggest joy is first figuring it out and second teaching it to you guys how to make it. So that is my greatest joy, is being able to teach it in a way that everybody, no matter their skill level, feels like they can give that project a try and be successful at it. So I don't know, inspiration's kind of everywhere for me. Let's see. So the electric die cutting machine that I use, it's an Anna Griffin machine. I've got it linked in the video description. It is not an affiliate link. The prices have changed, I think, recently. I want to say it's around $200, but the link's in the description. You can go to Anna Griffin website and see the price. She's got two different sizes. That's the mini that I typically use on stream because it's just easy for me to lift and take in and out of the frame. But then there's also the Empress Elite, I think is what it's called, and that's the bigger machine. So I think I just answered that, Kathy, but look for the link in the description. It's available at annagriffin.com, and it's called the Anna Griffin Empress Mini. So the inspiration, it was Catherine at Crafty Mini, Crafty M-I-N-I-E. She's no longer a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, but she does still have her website and tutorials. It's all in French, but I'll include a link to her project in the video description for you. Yes, I cut right into the magnetic plate. Even though the instructions say otherwise, Anna Griffin herself, I have been told, also cuts into the magnetic plate. And I believe the instructions on the new Empress Elite have been updated to say that you can cut into the magnetic plate. And believe it or not, this is my first magnetic plate, and I've had this machine for a couple of years now. So I have put thousands of cuts into this one magnetic plate, and I haven't had any issues. I only cut on the one side. I have 2 extras as backup, but I haven't had to use them yet. So, and my plates are completely flat. They don't warp at all. I don't have to flip them or anything like that. So, love it. Let's see. Denise, send me an email, and just send me an email, and then I'll make sure that that gets on my list, okay? Sometimes with the catalogs, it's ultimately up to the local post office of whether or not they will deliver bulk mail. So frustrating. But send me an email and I'll make sure to get you one, okay? All right, we reached the end of the cues. Thank you guys so much for great questions. If you enjoyed tonight's project or learned a tip or trick or two, make sure you give us a thumbs up here on YouTube. I think there's a new hype option as well, so go ahead and give that a try if you want to hype this video so others can see it. All of that helps us here on YouTube. You can support the channel in a number of different ways: subscribing, liking the video. You can join my YouTube channel, my channel membership. Our live stream is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, episode 25 for my members only stream. And if you join now, you get access to all the past live streams and templates. We'd love to have you join us. It's just $4.99 per month. You get the little magic wand icon next to your name, and we have a lot of fun together. It's once a month we do a members only stream. More laid back than this. I chat more with the Pixie patrons, and we create 2 cards together, and I share a card template. We're building a binder of card templates. You get 2 each month. So we have a lot of fun together. But also, starter kit special through October 31st. So we've talked about that throughout the stream. As always, if you have any questions, just email me at support@thepaperpixie.com. Don't forget, all you need are stamps, ink, and a little paper pixie. And here's a special shout out to my Pixie patrons in the credits. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week, and we'll see you next time. Take good care. Bye.